There's an ancient proverb that says, the best laid plans of the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church often go astray. Or there's another ancient proverb, we make plans and the Delta variant laughs. This was originally meant to be our first in-person gathering in this sanctuary, but we've decided to postpone that eventual reunion. And so we're doing our water communion in a slightly different way, and I'll explain that later. But I want to welcome you to our water communion service. Water unites us. All water is one water, shape-shifting as it goes on in an unending cycle. The stream we gather by unites us with all the waters of the world, for we all depend on water. That's why this common everyday element on which our lives depend is sacred. Water is sacred. In our thankfulness for water, let us remember to honor and cherish and care for it as we care for our own lives. For our life is touched by water, and for those who come after us in need of thirst and water. Come, let us worship together.
Invite all who are gathered with us this morning, watching, to join us in our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, this is our great covenant. Once upon a time, something changed. Once upon a time, something we thought would change didn't. Once upon a time, we had to make a change, whether we wanted to or not. Good morning. On this transitional day, this day that is different than we thought it would be, for the first time since March 2020, we are coming to you live, speaking in real time from this sanctuary, though we thought that we would have this space open for those of you who wished to be here with us. But perhaps the one thing we have learned more than anything else through this pandemic as a community is that changes come whether we want them or not, and we will adapt and make as a community the best choices we can in response to each new reality we are faced with, and so here we are. We begin yet again in love. We begin a school year and a church year that are different from the last one. We begin in a place that is still different than we long for it to be. And yet we continue to gather in spirit in so many ways. And in this transitional time, we have marked the beginning of the school year for our young people in our community and their parents and their teachers, with a special blessing that I want to share with all of our community today. So last Sunday, we offered a careful outdoor in-person blessing of the backpacks and homeschool supplies, and it was so good to be together with those who were able to and chose to join us. And as part of that, we gathered up love from our own hearts and pulled more from our church space. We were outside on the front lawn, and we pulled from our church, and we sent that love into all the backpacks and the pockets and the arms of those who were gathered with us. And we gathered up courage, too. Did any of us ever find that we could use a little bit of extra courage in these times? So we gathered up all our courage and added them to one another's backpacks as well. And then every person there was given a special blessing tag that could be attached to their backpacks or key rings, or kept in sight in our homeschool spaces. And the tag says on one side, I am loved. I can do hard things. And on the other side, it has some words of a short song that are familiar for some of us and new for others. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. We've been thinking a lot more about breath over the last year and a half or so than we might have before, I think many of us. And breath feels a little scary sometimes now, I think. But breath is also life. And breathing with mindfulness is a wonderful way to find our calm center again when we are struggling. And so we have these words as a reminder: when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. But we know that there are many of our TVUUC folks who didn't make it to our in-person blessing last week, and so we sent our love and our courage as a blessing into all the tags that we had with us, and we mailed one to all of the children and youth active in our RE programs as of the beginning of the pandemic this week. And we intended to give them to everyone gathered here who chose to come in person when we thought we would be open in person. But we do have them available. And I'm going to put this box, I have a little box that's going to be outside the front door and available for anybody who wants to stop by the church. And it says, TVUC blessing tags, take one for your backpack, work bag, or keychain. So it will be available. And anybody who would like one can also let me know, and I can slip one in the mail if that would be easier for you. We want everybody who would like to have one of our blessing tags to have one. And so I want to invite you, if you are somebody who already has one of these tags, I invite you, if you would like, to go and get it and hold it in your hands right now, if it's somewhere nearby. Or if you do not have one, or it's not handy, if you don't have one yet, I want to invite you to take your fingertip and your hand and write the words on the front of the tag on your palm right now with me. I am loved. I can do hard things. It is hard to do this backwards. And so with this ritual, we expand our blessing to all who are watching, all who are in our TVUC community. And I want to share a few of the words of blessing we offered on Sunday. Even when you are away from TVUC, you carry the heart of Unitarian Universalism with you wherever you go. You and the beauty you bring to the world by living your own deep truth and your deepest values in the world, that is what Unitarian Universalism is. That is what our community is. And as you journey through this year in whatever way and however it brings experiences to you, may you be blessed with the knowledge that you are loved, you are strong, you are kind, and you are never alone. It is so hard to be waiting still, to be waiting to be together in this space with you again, to be waiting for the pandemic to be behind us. We are not there yet. In fact, it feels that we are further away than we thought we were just a few weeks ago, and it is so hard. It is so hard. And we can hold that struggle with one another along with our hope and our conviction that we can be together through it all in the ways that help safeguard our community. And so may you always remember, you are loved. You can do the hard things that need doing, and your TVUUC community is with you, even while we are apart.
Well, the struggle to get here and up the platform is amazing. So it's not like an always smooth transition, and I'm sorry about that. The reading for today is about turtles. I am affected by the thought that the earth nurses the eggs. They are planted in the earth, and the earth takes care of them. She is genial to them and does not kill them. It suggests a certain vitality and intelligence of the earth, which I had not realized. This mother is not merely inanimate and inorganic. Though the immediate mother turtle abandons her offspring, the earth and the sun are kind to them. The old turtle on which the earth rests takes care of them while the other turtle waddles away. Earth was not made poisonous and deadly to them. The earth has some virtue in it. Which seeds are put into the earth, they germinate. When turtle eggs, they hatched in due time. Though the mother turtle remained and brooded over them, it would still nevertheless be the universal world turtle, which through her cared for them as now. Thus, the earth is the mother of all creation. There are many people who are home, sick, lonely, sad, angry, frustrated, yet in our prayer for the joys and concerns, we wrestle with the need to feel all the negative and hold up high the positive. And although we've gone backwards in what we plan to do, we go forward knowing that we're preparing a place of safety. And though we are dealing with the pain of not being together, the emotional stress of not being here, we still can be here, both psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, through prayer, through thought, through meditation. I ask you to join me in a prayer. Lord, I love the beauty of your creation and the oneness with you that I'm feeling it. The sound of water flowing, the pine, the cedar, the smell, the quiet waves, the wind that blows through the trees, birds bursting forth in song, meditation on it releases us. I ask that when we are upset, angry, disappointed, we meditate on the love that is still present, found throughout nature, found throughout water, found throughout wind, found throughout sounds of joy, love, contentment. Let us not despair that we're not here. Let us rejoice that we will try and find a way to benefit and be together. Amen.
If you know this hymn, you can sing it at home. Hymn 136, Where Gentle Tides Go Rolling By.
Where gentle tides go rolling by along the salt sea strand, the colors blend and roll as one together in the sand.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at TVUUC. My name is Claudia Presley, and I'm the Director of Administration here. Today is a designated offering Sunday. What that means is that 100% of your contribution today that is not designated as a pledge will go to our organization for today. Today's organization is the Helping Fund of TVUUC, and Reverend Jametta Alston will be up here in a few minutes to tell us a little bit about that, but let me just tell you the way that you can give. There's a couple of different ways. You can go to our website and give there. You can go to tvuuc.org and give through there. There is a give button there. Or you can text give, which is what a number of people do. You just type in the number 73256, the letters TVUUC, and the amount that you would like to give. So once again, we're glad that you're here with us today, and we hope that you are able to give to the Helping Fund of TVUUC.
The Helping Fund. All of you must wonder sometimes, who are we helping? Is it only members? Is it anyone else? The Helping Fund is used for anyone who contacts us who has a need. We've had members who have been domestic violence victims, and we've been able to help them. We have members who need their rent paid, and we have helped them. We have members who need to go grocery shopping because they have no food, and we have helped them. The fund can be used for many reasons: utilities, rent, support, whatever people can do. And so it's important that you know that you are helping people, especially during the pandemic, when there's so many things that have gone wrong and so many needs that cannot be met despite stimulus funds. So remember that the fund is to help anyone and everyone, and that all should know that you can call us at any time. Thank you.
This morning I want to draw some wisdom from the past that hopefully can illuminate our present and help guide us toward the future. I'll talk a little bit about the first congregation I served as minister in Oxford, Ohio. There was a member of that church named John Eicher who went to the hospital, and I went to visit him in his room, and he had nothing but good things to say about the staff at the hospital. He said they were so kind and so compassionate and so caring and so sensitive, and he was effusive with praise. And then circumstances required that he be transferred to a bigger hospital in a bigger city in Cincinnati. And when I talked to him about that, he said, he had nothing but bad things to say about the staff. They were cold and clinical and detached and insensitive. But after a week, he sort of changed his tune. And I asked him why, and he said, well, the second hospital did something that the first hospital couldn't do. It got the diagnosis right. And because the second hospital was able to get the right diagnosis, they were able to find the right treatment plan and get him on the road to recovery. At the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, we believe in religion of the head and of the heart. Love is the spirit of this church. It truly is. Love is the spirit of this church, and the quest for the right diagnosis, the right understanding of the human condition is our goal, especially when it comes to matters of health. We need the right diagnosis. During this course of the pandemic, and especially when things got more hopeful and we had more choices, we've often had a wrestling match between head and heart. We've asked ourselves questions. Do we get together with our friends because we love them? Or do we rest in place and keep physical distance because we love them? Do we get together with our family because we love them? Or do we postpone that family reunion? Postpone that wedding? Postpone that memorial service because we love one another? And our church staff and our church leadership have wrestled with what it means to love one another during this unprecedented time of challenge. Do we worship together in person because we love one another? Or do we worship together online because we love one another? This is not an easy decision. This isn't what we had planned this morning. On Thursday night, the board and the COVID task force voted unanimously to continue having our services online in light of the surge of the Delta variant. The current infection rate is 7 times higher than the level that was specified in our reopening plan that was approved by the board and the COVID task force. Hospitals are full. ICU beds are filling up. Hospitals are declining patient transfers and elective surgeries. As Nick Potter said, it's out of control. It's out of control. Even so, this was not an easy decision, one that inevitably had that tension between head and heart. Now, I went to a Quaker school to study for the Unitarian Universalist ministry, and there one of the important teachings is Jesus is saying, love your enemies, which seems like a very hard thing to do, but it gets even harder when you hear what my professor Lonnie Valentine once said. He said, your enemy is not necessarily somebody you hate. Your enemy is someone whose good news is your bad news, and whose bad news is your good news. And that's where we are this morning. For some of us, the decision to continue online is good news that keeps our community safe. And for others, it's bad news because it postpones even further into the future that reunion that we all long for. There is a moment. This is good news and bad news. And some of us are conflicted. And I would include myself in that category, where sometimes something is good news to the head and heartbreaking to the heart. Because of my interfaith work, I have friends who are kind and compassionate and loving and sensitive, who belong to churches that did not close down during the pandemic. And I've seen the body count. I have seen the in-person memorial services, online, in-person memorial services. Not one, not two, not three, but multiple memorial services. I also have friends who describe themselves as cold and clinical and detached. And some of these friends are involved in medical research and in the medical field and have been involved in the efforts that involve so many people to develop the vaccine, to distribute the vaccine that is the best hope we have of our reunion that we all long for. So get the vaccine. Sometimes we need more than just the heart. We need head and heart working together. Life would be so easy if all we had to do was have our hearts in the right place. And that's not easy. But life would be so much easier if all we had to do was get our heads in the right place. That's not easy either. But the goal of spirituality, and that love is the spirit of this church, the goal of spirituality is to align our heads and hearts together. Our compassion with clear thinking. Science with genuine sensitivity to human needs and feelings. As I mentioned earlier, I once served a congregation in Oxford, Ohio. It is the only congregation I've ever served that had its own cheer. Go, Turtles, go. And my first immersion experience with the congregation was at a church retreat, and I kept hearing that cheer over and over again. Go, Turtles, go. Go, Turtles, go. And I thought it was nuts. I had no idea what was going on. And so I asked somebody about it, and they said, well, one evening during a long and tedious board meeting, where no one seemed to be in any particular hurry to arrive at any particular conclusion, the president of the congregation, Alan Miller, declared, organizing Unitarian Universalists is like herding turtles. And the name stuck. And if you go to that church, you'll see a banner that has a circle of rocks with turtles going in different directions within the circle. And you will hear the cheer, go, turtles, go. Now, not everyone loves that metaphor. My mentor, the Reverend Leslie Highbore, said, if organizing Unitarian Universalists is like herding turtles, mine are snapping turtles. And I have to confess, I have, in my time in ministry, met some snapping turtles. However, I do want to suggest this metaphor of turtle herding might help us in our current situation, especially if we factor in the snapping turtle dimension. So let me speak to the snapping turtles among us, including the snapping turtle in me. Sarah Smarsh wrote an article recently called, What Do We Do with Our COVID Rage? What do we do with our COVID rage? And she's speaking about an experience that all of us have had during this pandemic of being on the receiving end of people's anger and frustration about everything that's been happening. And we give it out too. We give out that rage and we receive that rage. Well, she has some real insight with what we can do with our anger. She wrote, "Anger is a contagious energy that jumps quickly from one person to the next. It will seize your mind and body as a host. If allowed to explode, it will hurt others. If allowed to implode, it will hurt you." She goes on to say that we need to learn how to transform this energy not only for the sake of our own individual survival, but for the common good. And if we do it, we can create a powerful alchemy. She writes, "If we are up to the task, we can create something good together." That alchemy begins with awareness, begins with the right diagnosis, I would say. Do we have the facts? If we do not understand the problem, our feelings are untethered from reality. Untethered anger tends to be unproductive and selfish, delighting our egos rather than directing us toward necessary action. So snapping turtles, wherever you are, inside, each one of us, outside, let's work together. Let's put our energy into action. At this point in the pandemic, many of us are fully vaccinated and humbled by the fact that we now know those who are vaccinated can transmit the disease to others. So we have both a new lease of freedom and concern about our own conduct. During this time, some of us are comfortable coming out of our shelves a bit, and yes, we've seen your pictures on Facebook and Instagram and other social media. We've seen you out there in the world. There are other turtles who are more tentative about coming out. And yes, in the age of social media, we have seen your tentative steps. And there are other turtles who are staying in their shells. And this is a particularly important thing for those who are immunocompromised and those who are part of households where people cannot get vaccinated. I'm thinking particularly of children 12 and under. So our challenge is to become turtle herders for all these different kinds of turtles. And we are regrouping. This decision caught us was sudden, and we are regrouping, but our vision is to offer church programming that will reach everyone, that will include in-person and online activities, will include outdoor. Many people feel much safer outdoors, and some indoor activities. And so we are regrouping to figure out how to keep all the turtles in that stone circle. This work will not be without its frustrations. But that's church work, isn't it? I mean, that is church work. I began as minister here 20 years ago, and I had so many plans. I'd outlined all these sermons I was going to give. And then September 11th happened, and those planes flew into the World Trade Centers, and everything changed. Everything changed. The second half of my ministry, I thought I'd have some more control, and I'd have some plans, and I'd be able to outline those plans. And then a horrible hate crime happened in this room, and all those plans went away. So I began 21. Not how I planned, but that is exactly how my ministry has been all along. So I'm asking you, this time is going to be frustrating. Sometime we will get staff and volunteers in here to line up all the chairs in perfect rows and clear out all the clutter and work ourselves to death to get ready for something that's not going to happen. And some of our outdoor events that have been planned have been canceled due to inclement weather, and that's going to be part of the way of the future. So let's commit to the work together, even as we accept it has inevitable frustrations. Whenever I go to the beach, to visit with my father at Hilton Head Island, as many of you know, my father's had some health problems, But we recently visited the beach. It was a very powerful reunion, post-COVID reunion. But when I go to the beach in autumn, I can't help but notice there are all these people wearing t-shirts that say Sea Turtle Patrol. Sea Turtle Patrol. And the goal of this organization, and they have their own cool little red cars, and they got all this sort of mobilizing force. The goal of this organization is to keep turtles safe during the nesting and hatching season. You may not know this, but that is the most dangerous time in the sea turtle's life, is when they come out of their shells and start moving toward the ocean, coming out of their shells and diving into the ocean, getting into the larger world. That's when they're most vulnerable to predators. That's when they're most vulnerable to human interference. And so the sea turtle, I've watched the sea turtles swoop in and sort of rope off people so that the turtles could make their journey toward the ocean without hindrance or harassment from people. I'm telling you about the Sea Turtle Patrol because we as a congregation, as a nation, and as a world are entering into a dangerous time when we are vulnerable. So let's be Sea Turtle Patrol to each other to keep each other safe. I began this sermon by telling a story of John Eicher in the hospital. He is no longer living. He is of blessed memory. So even when we get the diagnosis right, we are mortal. We are mortal. And we must remember that mortality in our spiritual and personal decisions. This week I had a friend that brought to my attention a poem by John Rodell, which will be our closing thought. It's a little longer than usual for a sermon poem, but it is well worth it. I think it speaks, as the Quakers say, it speaks to our condition. He wrote, "My brain and heart divorced a decade ago over who was to blame for how big a mess I have become. Eventually, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. Now my head and heart share custody of me. I stay with my brain during the week, and my heart gets me on weekends. They never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week, and their notes they send to one another always say the same thing: this is all your fault. On Sundays, my heart complains about how my head has let me down in the past. And on Wednesday, my head lists all the times my heart screwed things up for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. There's been a lot of yelling and crying, so lately I've been spending a lot of time with my gut, who serves as my unofficial therapist. Most nights I speak out of the window of my rib cage and I slide down my spine and collapse on my gut's plush leather chair that is always open for me, and I just sit until the sun comes up. Last evening, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught between head and heart, and I nodded. I said I didn't know if I could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that may happen tomorrow, I lamented. My gut squeezed my hand. I just can't live with my mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future, I sighed. My gut smiled and said, in that case, you should stay with your lungs for a while. I was confused. The look on my face gave it away. If you're exhausted about your heart's obsession and the fixed past and your mind's focus on the uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place to be. There is no yesterday in your lungs. There is no tomorrow there either. There is only now. There is only inhale. There is only exhale. There is only this moment. There is only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your head and your heart work out their relationship with each other. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves and while my heart was staring at old photographs, I packed a little bag and I walked to the door of my lungs. And before I could even knock, she opened the door with a smile, and a gust of air embraced me. And she said, "What took you so long?" With this poem in mind, I invite you to breathe in. And I invite you to breathe out. I invite you to breathe in. And I invite you to breathe out. And if you have a little breath left over, you can say that cheer from the comfort of your home. Go, turtles, go. Let us join together in our closing hymn, "Shall We Gather at the River?" During our Water Communion Sunday, we invite people to bring water that they've gathered from their summer time. It may come from a creek or a lake or an ocean. It may come from the kitchen sink. And we're physically unable to do that together, but we've come up with some creative ways that you can share your water. One of the things you can do is post it online in our members and friends page, or you can use social media, your personal accounts, and this is the first time we probably had a water communion with a hashtag. You can hashtag TVUUC Water Communion. Or you can bring your water throughout the week and you can pour it anywhere you would like on our grounds. If you see a place that's particularly beautiful and you want to nourish the flowers that grow there and nourish the life of the congregation in that way, you can do so. The water we share reminds us of the ways that our common life is enriched by the individual gifts that we bring together. So I invite you to participate in the water communion in this way. Our closing words. It starts with a drop, then a trickle, a burble, a rush of water, bubbling toward its destination. And finally, the wide and endless sea. All rivers run to the sea. Today, you brought water virtually. You poured it into a common bowl virtually. Though our experiences have differed, these waters mingle, signifying our common humanity. Today, we came together and shared our sacred community. May we depart from this sacred space online in peace, hearts filled with hope for new beginnings and a fresh start. Go forth, but return to this community in the new forms it will take, in the new ways it is becoming, where rivers of tears may be shed, where dry souls are watered, where your joy bubbles, where your life cup overflows, where deep in your spirit you have found this place and called it home. All rivers run to the sea. I invite you to sing together in your homes our musical benediction. I invite you to greet your neighbors in any way you know how. Send an email, make a phone call, post on their social media page. Find ways to stay connected to each other. And when you're out there in the community, wear your mask. Let's work together to keep this community safe, to keep our children safe. Go in peace.